Hi folks, Canadian Prepper here. Now this video is going to contain some profanity, so if you are easily offended, then I suggest that you don't watch this video. If you are sensitive to things like that, personally I don't use profanity in my videos because I just like to create general appeal. I recognize that using profanity profusely tends to be an indication of a failure to communicate when you try to enunciate every second word with a swear word for no reason. But if you are easily offended by stuff like that, then just imagine how sensitive you are going to be to the wholly insensitive nature of without rule of law and shit hits the fan. Just think about all manner of evil that is going to come up, which this type of profanity that we might come across on YouTube is going to totally pale in comparison to that. So if you're this sensitive, now just wait. Just you wait. I want to give a shout out to the RZA BZA GZA. He has a story that he's been narrating on his channel. It's about EMP, grid down, survival. The moral of which is to demonstrate how a person can lose their moral way in an SHTF situation. And it's a pretty good story, so go check it out. I'll post a link in the description to his channel. All right, so the purpose of this video is to address some of the criticisms I had on my most recent motivational spiel about how to be hard as nails in an SHTF situation. Now, one of the main criticisms I always get is with regards to ageism and how, well, you're preaching a young man's game. I don't care if you're 80 years old or 90 years old. There's always a way that you can be stronger. In fact, the only way that you are going to survive another day on this earth is if, and only if, you put yourself under some stress today. I get that there's limitations, the physical limitations that come with age. I totally get that. And what I've always stated in my videos is that it's relative. So the stress that you put your body under is relative. For a 20-year-old, that might involve going for a 10-mile run. They might need that level of stimulation. Really, that's all it is stimulus coming in. Any stimulus is stressful. Even the light coming down on me right now is stressful. It's imprinting on my mind. Now, for an older person, it might just be walking a kilometer, once a week. That might be you getting out of your comfort zone, or what we call eustress, which is constructive stress. You need a little bit of stress in order to grow. In fact, if you just did nothing and you sat in bed all day and you were 80 years old, and that would be very comfortable, it would be very pleasurable, but guess what? In a few weeks, they would find you dead because all your muscles would atrophy without the stress and the stimulation that you put them under by getting up and walking and doing stuff. You have to do that. So yeah, it's totally relative and everybody can do this. This is not just for young people. It's a general principle, a point that I was trying to get across, that the only way to grow and to get stronger or to maintain the strength that you have is to use it or lose it, and is to put a little bit more stress in controlled amounts on your body so that it prompts a growth response. A lot of people have a lot of bullshit excuses that they want to use so they can sit there and justify their sniveling, weak-willed, and contrarian comments that they post on YouTube. And honestly, if I was a drill sergeant in the military, these guys would not last a day in my division. Just like a person who's addicted to drugs and constantly wants to be in a state of pleasure, but they're killing themselves. And that's what I meant in that video, is that if you want to try to sustain a constant state of pleasure or bliss, it's unsustainable. You will be sliding into death. You slide into death when you do nothing for yourself, when you make no challenges. The body has no incentive. Just having that stress response where you're promoting the growth of more muscle mass or brain matter, whatever the case might be, neural synaptic connections. It doesn't matter. If you're not getting any new stimulation, that's not going to happen. So yeah, you're damn right you're going to have to put yourself under some stress. Now, I have to emphasize the point that I don't expect you to be at my level of physical capability. I'm not tooting my own horn. There's a lot of people out there who are still in better shape than I am. I think I'm in pretty good shape. I've been going pretty hard for 5 years on my physical health. So yeah, I have a certain advantage over some people. I'm not saying that you need to be like me or that you need to be the fastest runner. I'm just saying that your goals that you make should be relative to you. The goal should be to get better, and absolutely everybody can always get better, or in the very least, maintain what you got. And then there's the other criticism about how, oh, well, you don't want to have a heart attack, you don't want to run too fast, or you might have a heart attack, you might pass out, you might break a nail. You may die in training. That's just a reality. It's a reality whether you're in the military, whether you're doing police training, whether you're training for a sport. You may well die going to work tomorrow. You may get hit by a car. You may, if you have to commute long distances, you take a risk every single frickin' day. You have to be willing to fail. You have to fail. Never mind willing to fail, you will fail. It's how you fail. It's how resilient you can be. So yeah, you have to take risks. All right, so another thing you got to think about is risk in a collapse situation. There's a lot to be gained by risk. In fact, if you're just planning on hunkering down and bunkering in and just hoping that people are going to pass you by when you're trying to remain in this fortified position, well, I mean, any military strategist will tell you that that is not a foolproof strategy to defend yourself, that you're going to have to venture out. You may, in some cases, have to bring the fight to your enemy. So you can't just plan on remaining stagnant and hope for the best. You may actually have to venture out, and there may be great rewards to be earned by that. I'm not just talking about going and, doing things that are unethical, but I'm talking about saving people. I'm talking about helping other people. There are things to be gained by taking certain risks. Of course, it must be done in a very strategic and surgical manner. So the whole idea that permeates modern society right now, that we have to keep everybody safe at all times and that you mustn't take any risks whatsoever, is complete and utter horseshit. And that's part of the reason why so many people are out of shape nowadays, why so many people are not only physically out of shape, but more importantly, mentally out of shape. People do not have to think in a very complicated manner nowadays in order to get by. Smart technology does most of the work, and it's only going to get worse from here on in. And as such, you're going to see a corresponding decline in our mental capacity and our physical capability. So you got to get this false notion out of your mind that you're somehow just going to bunker in and sit there with a shotgun pointing at the door, and that people are not going to be scheming around you in order to infiltrate you. And they will. They eventually will break your defenses and you will be taken out. Your security and preparedness plan cannot, absolutely cannot, boil down to simply battening down the hatches and hoping for the best and hoping that you'll be able to defend yourself. All it takes is a fire, some gas, some smoke, something like that to get you out of your comfort zone, and you will have to move. So it's very imperative that you're willing to take some offensive strategy where it's needed. And once again, consider all the rewards that are to be gained by taking certain risks, by making allegiances with other people who could benefit you, who could save you down the road. You never know if doing something and venturing out of your comfort zone in a grid down post-disaster situation, that might be the saving grace that helps you out later on. So don't overlook the fact that taking certain risks is going to have a payoff to it. Nothing is free. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, and you will reap what you sow down the road. Every single culture and civilization throughout history, even today, have rites of passage. They had rites of passage where you went out, you may have died in that quest in order to become a man, or whatever the case might be. If you're a Maasai warrior, you would have to go and spear a lion to prove your manhood. If you were a Native American tribesman, you would have to do something else. You'd have to go on a vision quest or something of the sort. Even the Spartans, what they did was pretty evil, but they had to go and kill some slaves in order to become a warrior. So there's things you're gonna have to do. You may die. You absolutely may hurt yourself. And I know that's not the point. It's not constructive if that's not what the aim is. The aim is to not hurt yourself, okay? I'm not saying do something stupid. All this bullshit about, oh, you might hurt yourself if you go out and exercise and do all this stuff and you push yourself too hard. You know what? There's always a slight risk of that, but I can tell you, you are 1,000 times more likely to die of some bullshit disease that you catch because you're not strong enough. If those of you who have the will to get up, go to work, pay the bills, there's absolutely no reason why you can't apply that same level of self-discipline to your physical health. And physical health in turn has great impacts on your emotional and mental health. Like I said in that last video, every time you want to quit, and I'm talking like you feel like you got nothing left, when you step over that line and you go further still, that's when there's a mental transformation. There's an emotional transformation. That's when you bust out of some neurotic holding pattern that you have, and you're going to take it to the next level, and you're going to grow in all ways, holistically. So just wanted to say that. Check out the RZA BZA GZA Got Gangs of the Collapse installment part 3 coming up this weekend. I've also been collaborating with a few other people on some different projects, one of which we're going to look at the evolution of flashlights. I've been talking to one of the main curators of flashlights in North America, who's told me a bit about the history of flashlights, the evolution, where they've come from, where they're heading, and we're just going to contrast to see this amazing jump in flashlight technology throughout the last 100 years. Namely, the last 10 years is when it's been the most evident, the most magnified. So stay with me for that. Thanks for watching. Canadian Prepper out.
Check out the Canadian Preppers Network blog, an excellent resource for survivalists and preppers.